Welcome into another episode of Tailgate Talk SEC. I am Will Thomas, and we have our penultimate roster breakdown here with the Texas A&M Aggies today. So Mike Elko and the Aggies, they went 11-0 to begin last year, got up as high as number 3 in the country. Then they lost to Texas, and they lost to Miami in the playoffs. So it was a really, really good year for the Aggies, obviously. But that sour taste in their mouths has really stung all offseason. So Elko tried to put together a roster in the portal through recruiting, over the offseason to really be able to come back and make another run at the national title this year. So let's go right through the Aggies roster and really break down where they're at in terms of competing for that ultimate prize. Starting off at quarterback, he's all the way back here. Marcel Reed, who is a 6'1", 185-pound redshirt junior. He's back for his second year as the full-time starter, but really third year being a familiar face with the Aggies. He was 62% passing last year, which is fine. Over 3,100 yards, threw for 25 touchdowns. Did have 12 picks. That's what needs to get cleaned up. But he did run for almost 500 yards and 6 scores as well. The thing with Marcel, right, it's just consistent accuracy and decision making. If he's able to develop that, he can really be one of the best quarterbacks in the conference because of his athletic ceiling, how dynamic he is, and just what he can do with his athletic profile. And then behind him is Brady Hart, who is 6'4", 195 as a redshirt freshman. He's a consensus 4-star out of Cocoa, Florida. So he has a pretty good ceiling. Obviously, still needs to keep developing, and he will have that year to develop behind Marcel Reed this fall. Moving to the running back room, Ruben Owens does come back for another year here in College Station. 5'11", 215 as a redshirt junior. He carried the ball 119 times for over 600 yards and 5 scores last season. And then behind him at number 2 figures to be Jamarion Morrow, who is 5'9", 205 pounds as a sophomore. He carried the ball over 40 times for $182 and a score last season. Then the next 3 guys here behind those two, I mean, this is a pretty talented running back room. I'm not really sure that there's really a set, 3 through 5, maybe even 2 through 5 behind Ruben Owens. But Tiger Ryden is in that room, 5'10", 212 as a redshirt freshman, carried the ball 11 times last year. KJ Edwards is a 5'10", 187-pound freshman who was a consensus 4-star last season. And Carson Baker, another freshman, he is 6', 195. He was a 4-star and a top 20 running back from 24/7. So really all those guys, 2 through 5, I think could really punch for good carries. But I do expect it to be Jamarion Morrow, at least to begin the year. Moving out to receiver, a massive add in the portal was Isaiah Horton coming over from Alabama. The 6'4", 208-pound grad student with the Tide last year had 42 grabs for over 500 yards and 8 scores. And why he's so big for A&M this year is because of how well he complements Mario Craver. Horton's the big guy. Craver is the smaller, speedy slot guy at 5'9", 165. Craver caught 59 passes for over 900 yards and 4 touchdowns last year. He is a lightning bolt speedster in the slot. He's impossible to cover one-on-one. And then at the 3 spot there, Ashton Bethel Roman also was back. 6', 185 as a redshirt sophomore. He had 24 grabs for over 500 yards, so massive yards per catch, and 5 touchdowns last year. Then behind them in that room at receiver, Aaron Gregory is a 4-star freshman who stands at 6'2", 177, coming from Augusta, Georgia. Terry Bussey is still in that room, 5'10", 195 as a junior. He was a former 5-star guy, has caught like 18 and 19 passes, I believe, in his first 2 years of his career. And then TK Norman is a 6', 182 redshirt freshman who caught just 3 passes last year. Moving to the tight end room, Micah Riley is coming over from Auburn. He is 6'5", 257 as a senior. Didn't catch a pass last season, only has 3 throughout his career. But with his size, being 6'5", 260, the potential is there for him to be a pretty good tight end. And then Houston Thomas behind him, he's coming over from UTSA. He is 6'5", 245 as a grad transfer. He has more proven production, 34 grabs for 347 yards and 2 scores last year. Moving to A&M's offensive line, this is a really interesting unit because 4 of the projected starters are transfers, but the smallest guy is 6'4", 315, and they all have tons of experience. So starting off with Tyree Adams, who figures to be one of their tackles. 6'7", 310, coming over from LSU as a redshirt junior. And then playing next to him should be his former teammate at LSU, Cohen Eccles, who is also coming over. 6'4", 315 as a redshirt sophomore. Then their lone returner, who is projected to be a starter on this O-line this year, is Mark Nabu, who is 6'4", 330. He'll be their center as a graduate student. Then on the other side of the offensive line, Trovone Ball is a 6'4", 335 grad transfer, again, coming over from South Carolina. And then, because why not, a third grad transfer at the other tackle spot is Wilkin Formby, coming over from Alabama at 6'7", 295. So a ton of new faces, but a ton of size and a ton of experience. I do believe that A&M's offensive line could be one of the stronger units in the conference this fall. Moving over now to the defensive side of the ball, coming off the edge, they transfer in Anto Saka, who is coming over from Northwestern, another grad transfer for the Aggies this year. 6'4", 255. He had 13 tackles last year, 3 sacks and 2 forced fumbles with the Wildcats. He is violent. He is very athletic. As he develops more of a pass rush plan, he can be really dangerous in this defense. And then with him is Marco Jones, who's returning for his sophomore season at 6'5", 258. He had 21 tackles for 3.5 TFLs and 2.5 sacks last season. Then some depth in that room. TJ Searcy returns. He is a 6'5", 255-pound senior, formerly at Florida. He's been at with the Aggies for a few years now. He had 31 tackles, 6.5 TFLs, and a sack and a half last fall. And then Sam Mpemba is a 6'3", 252-pound redshirt junior who played in just 3 games last year, but did rack up 2 sacks, 1.5 TFLs, and a forced fumble. Moving inside to D-tackle, DJ Hicks returns. He is a 6'3", 295-pound senior who racked up 26 tackles, 6.5 TFLs, and 3 sacks last fall. And they portal in CJ Mims from North Carolina, who is 6'2", 300 pounds as a redshirt senior. He had 42 tackles, 2 sacks, and a forced fumble last fall. The depth at D-tackle, Landon Rink is a 6'2", 294-pound sophomore who had 9 tackles and 1.5 TFLs last fall. And Angelo McCullum, who is coming over from Illinois, he is 6'2", 300 pounds as a junior, racked up a sack and a half last year to go along with 19 total tackles. At linebacker, they transfer in one of the most productive players, period, from last fall in Ray Coney. He is coming over from Tulsa, 6'2", 240 as a senior. He had 128 tackles last year, which is a crazy number, to go along with 2 sacks and a forced fumble. And then Damian Sanford returns, who was supposed to be one of their best defensive players. He had that gruesome injury in the spring game. We weren't really sure what his status was going to be. It doesn't seem like he's going to actually miss too much of the season. So really good news for A&M, really good news for Sanford, who is 6'2", 230 as a senior. He had 57 tackles, 9.5 TFLs, 3.5 sacks, 2 forced fumbles, and a pick last year. So hopefully he can get back on the field pretty early in the fall. And then Noah McHale is behind those two guys, 6'2", 223 as a sophomore. He had 16 tackles and a quarterback hurry last fall. Moving back to the secondary, Des Ricks returns for his redshirt junior season at 6'1", 188. He had 26 tackles and 6 pass breakups last season. And they portal in Ricky Gibson III from Tennessee. He is a 6', 185-pound senior from the Vols. He barely got to play last season, but when you go back to his healthy tape, early on in his career with the Vols, he is locked down. So Des Ricks and Ricky Gibson makes a really strong 1-2 punch at corner. And behind those two guys, Bryce Anderson is a graduate student at 5'10", 186. He played in 5 games last year, racked up 10 tackles. Adonis Curry is 6', 174 as a redshirt freshman, just played in 3 games last year. And then Julio Humphrey is a 6'1", 195-pound redshirt senior who had 7 tackles and a pass breakup last year. Moving back to the safety room, Dalton Brooks, he returns for his senior season, 6', 193. He had 61 tackles, 5.5 TFLs, 3 sacks, a forced fumble, and a pick last fall. And then Marcus Radcliffe is also back for his senior season at 6'2", 209. He had 66 tackles and 3 TFLs last year. They also have Tawfiq Byard back there as depth in that safety room. He is coming over from Colorado as a 6'1", 195 redshirt junior. He had 79 tackles, 2 forced fumbles, a pick, and 4 pass breakups last fall. And then at kicker, they went back to Illinois for David Olano, who is 5'11", 180 pounds as a senior. He was 20 of 23 on field goals and 44 of 44 on extra points last fall. So that is the 2 deep for the Aggies ahead of the 2026 season. Now, their ceiling, I think, is the same as it was last year, right? They were a few plays away from going to Atlanta, and then they were just, a touchdown away from moving on in the college football playoff. So their ceiling is still a strong postseason run. It's still making a run at both an SEC and a national title. But their floor could be another 8-4 year. It gets kind of tiring to keep hearing those same things about the Aggies, but there's definitely a floor for this team. If Isaiah Horton doesn't pan out, if Marcel Reed's floor is still as low as it is and he can't really elevate that, he can't keep developing. The defense I trust, right? It's a good bit of portal players, so we do have to see how they mesh. How quickly do they get Damian Sanford back? But so the defense I trust more than the offense just because of known commodities. But the offense, if Marcel Reed does step up, if Jamarian Morrow is a very good, reliable running back too, and that marriage between Isaiah Horton, Mario Craver, and Bethel Roman is as strong as I think it can be at receiver, A&M could be incredibly strong again this year. And, their schedule obviously isn't super easy, but we'll get through that in the next round of previews that we do. So if you have been enjoying all this college football preview content, you want more SEC stuff every single day of the summer, subscribe to me here and follow me on Twitter. I've been Will Thomas, and I will see you next time.